Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to another weather forecast here by Agent Weather Forecast. In this video, we're going to be potentially looking at the severe weather event in the Northern Plains tomorrow. We already have an enhanced level 3 risk for portions of the Midwest, and who knows whether we can possibly maybe see a level 4, possibly with maybe the winds or maybe extreme hail possibilities. Before we get in the video, please subscribe if you're new, hit the like button if you really enjoy this video, and also hit the post notification icon so you get notified as soon as I post a video. We're going to be looking at the timing of these storms, who could see the worst of these storms, and whether we can see tornadoes, extremely large hail, and possibly 80 plus miles an hour winds in these areas tomorrow. Without further ado, let's get in this video. Here we are taking a look at the National Weather Service. Yes, we don't have anything severe weather related really, but we're expecting to possibly see a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings, watches for this general area today, but we're really watching this general area tomorrow. We already have flood warnings for portions of the I-40 area near Michelle and Aberdeen, South Dakota, and even went all the way up there into the Canadian border with Minnesota. So this is basically just a general area we're watching at for today. We're including the eastern area of North Dakota, northeastern Minnesota, and portions of north central Minnesota, really. And that's where we're going to be possibly seeing those really strong linear storms of thunderstorms that could very well bring in very and extremely significant hail, possibly tornadoes, and extremely strong damaging wind gusts. Here is the day one, or not day one, here is the day two outlook here. So this will be for tomorrow. As you see, we are including a lot of areas under this enhanced risk. It's including the North Dakota area, much of Minnesota, and portions of South Dakota. So we are seeing quite a big enhanced risk. We are including 1.2 million people are under this enhanced risk. So that's including Fargo, North Dakota, St. Cloud, Minnesota, Moorhead, Minnesota, Aberdeen, South Dakota, and Wilmer, Minnesota. So as you see, those are kind of rural areas. Really, the only big place is really Fargo and possibly even a Grand Forks. Those are kind of the biggest areas really in this enhanced risk, including Aberdeen. So there's that. Also, we are including Detroit Lakes in this enhanced risk. So if you know anybody in this enhanced risk, please share the video to them, as they are going to be seeing really potentially really damaging thunderstorms potentially tomorrow. So please share the video to anybody that you know is in that severe weather risk. Now we have a very widespread slight risk as well. 4.3 million people are under this slight risk as of now. It's including big cities like Minneapolis, St. Paul, Duluth, Bloomington, and Plymouth, Minnesota. So that's including a lot, even including possibly even Bismarck. Marginal risk is also including now 2.6 million. So as you see, all the severe weather is for the Midwest tomorrow. The marginal, slight, and enhanced are all in the Midwest. We don't even have a marginal anywhere else. So it's all right here, really. This marginal is including Sioux Falls, Rochester, Sioux City, Eau Claire, La Crosse, and other big cities here in the Midwest here. So that is the day two outlook on the level risk or outlook. Let's go and take a look at the tornado probability. The tornado probability is it's decent. It's at a 5% chance right now, including just under 1 million people, including Fargo, Moorhead, Aberdeen, Watertown, and Wilmer. That's including that general area right here in that 5% chance. So a 5% chance for day two out looks pretty good. And so basically it's kind of like to that 5 to 10% chance really for severe weather, but it's including that 5. So I really wouldn't say we would get to a 10% chance, but obviously this can throw curveballs at us because we can very well see a decent probability for supercells. Main concern is the wind probability, and that's at a 30% chance there, including 1.2 million people, and that's where we kind of have the enhanced risk. That's including Fargo, Cloud, Minnesota, Moorhead, St. Cloud, Moorhead, Aberdeen, and Wilmer. So this is exactly why we have an enhanced risk. It's because the wind probability. I really don't see an enhanced risk. I really don't see a moderate happening, but we just gotta wait and see whether we either have a huge increase to a 30% chance for hail, which will maintain it at enhanced risk, or maybe an increase to a 45% chance for winds, which I do not see happening. 30% chances including that Fargo area, St. Cloud, And then the hail probability is very low at a 15% chance. I do definitely see the hail probability being upgraded to a 30% chance non-hatch risk. So we have, as of now, 1.7 million people under that 15% chance, including Fargo, St. Cloud, and Bismarck. But let's go and check out now the Nantucket model. Here we are taking a look at the Nantucket model. As you see, we are going to start off the day really up into July 17th, seeing some nice storms here in the kind of evening hours. You can see some nice storms developing for portions of North Dakota, South Dakota. Those general areas really, it's going to be developing on the border, but we do have that very strong low pressure system to the south. That's going to bring us some nice amount of energy for these storms kind of to really strengthen. And it's going to head straight for the areas near Aberdeen. You guys are going to be right in the way of this really strong linear storms right here. We can either see multiple waves of storms, so you can see storms maybe every other hour, all depending on where you are. But look at these storms heading straight for areas near Aberdeen, St. Cloud. It's going to be infecting areas like Detroit Lakes as well. Very powerful storms throughout today, really. And that's going to continue to move all the way for portions of Minneapolis here as well. Going to see a really strong potential squall line all the way from Iowa to portions near Duluth, Minnesota. So very powerful storms for Eau Claire, Duluth, and those really strong storms will be heading as well for far southern Minnesota into Iowa as well, which is why we have a slight risk for Iowa. And then we are missing those really strong linear storms heading through Eau Claire, maybe even Marquette, Michigan. Strong storms for Rochester. All those areas really for the Mississippi River. So really separating Wisconsin and Minnesota. They can also see some really strong storms there. And then it kind of falls apart by obviously July 18th. So this is now looking into the next coming hours this is now the overnight hours into July 17th. So this is really early tomorrow morning. Very limited amount of energy, obviously, because the sun's not out at this time. So that's going to limit the really numbers for humidity and also going to limit the overday heating. So that we're going to be seeing some mid to high thousands. As we now get later into now tomorrow, kind of maybe early morning, kind of around noonish, we're gonna see a huge increase in numbers, possibly already 3,800 joules per kilogram, which is actually very good numbers. 3,900 joules per kilogram, just under that 4,000 mark. Really, basically, we're just under that 4,000 mark. So this is still a good amount of energy, but just wait until we get to the evening hours here. This is when it gets really impressive. Now, evening hours. This is when the K values get to their highest. Always in the evening. You know why? It's because we just went through a whole day of overday heating. And overday heating, those 80s and 90s, maybe even triple digits in these areas, that's going to increase the Cape Valleys. And that's going to increase the possibility for severe weather as we have a very, very warm surface and a cooler atmosphere. That's going to actually make those cap numbers, which we'll be talking about later on, very, very low. Look at these numbers here, possibly just surpassing 5,000 joules per kilogram, 5,076. Those are some very good numbers. Look, those are actually extremely high numbers, 5,000 joules per kilogram. Look at this portion of Des Moines, 4,500. Much of eastern Nebraska surpassing 4,700. Portions of Minnesota, 4,700, 4,500. Very, very good numbers. And then as we get to in the morning hours of the 18th, we're starting to be seeing a decent amount of numbers, 3,600, 3,300, and then that kind of winds down into the morning hours, maybe 7 a.m., 6 a.m. On the 18th. Let's go now check out the the CAP numbers, or CIN, or so-called warm area aloft. What the CAP is, it's basically this warm area aloft is when you have warm air in the higher atmosphere and cooler air in the surface. You want that to be the opposite. You want cooler in the atmosphere and a warm surface to have some nice favorable severe weather. So basically, in other terms, the higher the CAP numbers, the more unlikely for severe weather development. So anything over negative 200 is considered very high CAP. So you don't want anything above negative 200 if you want storm development. So let's go and check out now tomorrow. Look at this, negative 96 joules per kilogram here on the CAP. Pretty nice numbers here. As you see, negative 165. That's actually not bad at all. as you get later on, you're going to see these early storms kind of negative 67, negative 47, negative 103 for these areas in South Dakota. We are going to be seeing things capping out for North Dakota at the start. We're going to be seeing some nice numbers, and then it kind of caps on later on. So really, we're not expecting anything to cap out until that evening mark, or not that evening, that very late evening mark. We are not expecting anything to cap out, really, because we are maintaining some nice numbers, negative 47, negative 80, negative 109. Those are some nice numbers for severe weather. Storm relative helicity. So storm relative helicity is kind of like spinning the atmosphere, really. Basically the amount of spin in the atmosphere. The higher the helicity, the better for severe weather. As you see, this is now later tomorrow. We're going to be already seeing some nice numbers of helicity, possibly 602 meters per second squared. Right here, we can possibly surpass 650 meters per second squared. Right here for a portion of North Dakota, 500 meters per second squared. And this is going to be heading those areas of severe weather right there. Look at this, perfect numbers. 424 meters per second squared, 450 meters per second squared. Right here, 515 meters per second squared. And then this is going to go down to the Iowa area where we can surpass 530 meters per second squared. And also, that other part of that linear storms will be heading towards the Duluth area, and they're going to be seeing possibly 400 meters per second squared. So, nice amounts of helicity numbers. Just look at this, though. Also, with a second wave, 716 meters per second squared. These are some very nice numbers for helicity, and it's going to be exactly in these areas for that severe weather. Exactly over that area for severe weather. Right here, 535 meters per second squared, and then obviously then it kind of falls apart at that moment. Now we're going to be taking a look at a superset composite parameter. We are going to be seeing some nice numbers, some lower numbers starting off the day tomorrow. Only a 6, only kind of a 7 or 10, which isn't too bad. But as we now get later on, we're going to be seeing some nice numbers. 19 on the SCP, a 20, maybe even a 21 as well. If we get later on, we're going to be seeing possibly a 24 on the SCP, which is very good. Let's go and check it now at the SKU-T chart, marginal tornado probability. And look at this, we actually have a 1.7 on the STP, or significant tornado parameter. And we have a 61% chance for possibly here of a tornado. We have a marginal tornado threat on the SKU-T chart for that area of Minnesota. Possibly 21 on the South Dakota area. No hazard, because it's going to be a very high cap of negative 265. So some areas can cap, some won't. That's kind of how it is. Basically here, later in portion of South Dakota as well going to cap out. So we're going to be seeing high amounts of cap as we get later in the atmosphere, and that's exactly why you're going to be seeing a 10 or 9, because it will be capping out here at negative 160 cap, but there is still a 0.9 on the STP, which is actually a very lower number there on a SKU-T chart. So probably for SCP the probability for a supercell is pretty good, so we can very well see some nice supercells and maybe even hill geckos tomorrow, which is why we have a 5% chance for tornadoes. Also, something very important is the wind shear. Let me actually get the wind shear here. They're going to see a very strong amount of wind shear coming in from the Pacific Northwest, and that's going to or the west, and that's going to bring in some nice amount of wind shear, possibly 69 knots, 70 knots in the higher atmosphere, 59 knots right over these exact areas for severe weather. And that is possibly going to reach maybe even over 87 knots. So very nice amounts of wind shear. So Cape, we have Cape, check. Cape is very high. Low amount of cap for general areas, check. Going to be seeing possibly some nice amounts of wind shear, check. Going to be seeing a very high amount of storm relative helicity, check. We're kind of checking a lot of things. The only main issue is the cap at this point. The cap is kind of the only issue with the CIN or cap. That's the only thing, because we may be seeing some areas really capping out, but we're also going to be seeing some areas that aren't going to be capping out. So kind of be seeing a huge difference between a county or a state, really. So this will wrap up the video, everybody, here. So I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If I do have to make another upload on this later today, whether it becomes if there's a huge update or anything, then I will post on this later today. If obviously I'm going to be posting on tomorrow. So everybody stay safe, be weather aware for the severe weather, especially if you're in the Aberdeen area, Grand Forks, Fargo, St. Cloud, Minnesota. You guys really need to be on the lookout for this really strong severe weather event tomorrow. Gonna be seeing winds are guaranteed, these really strong winds here. Expect possibly baseball-sized hail and maybe even a couple of tornadoes are likely tomorrow. Hope you guys did enjoy this video, and bye guys.